The envelope sits on the counter like a small, ticking time bomb. No name, no return address, just thick, expensive paper and a single, embossed symbol that looks vaguely like an infinity sign, its curves intertwining in a way that feels suggestive. I pick it up, the weight oddly heavy in my hand. "Olivia," I call, "this for you?" My wife appears in the doorway, a vision of casual elegance in her yoga pants and loose top. Her auburn hair is tied back, a few strands framing her face. She looks at the envelope, and for the briefest moment, something flickers in her eyes. Surprise? Worry? It's gone too quickly for me to tell. "Oh, that's just an invitation," she says lightly, reaching for it. Her fingers brush mine as she takes it, and I swear her hand trembles slightly. "Some neighborhood thing?" "Neighborhood thing?" I echo, raising an eyebrow. "I didn't think we were close with anyone around here." She shrugs, opening the envelope with practiced nonchalance. "You know, just the Carsons being their social selves. Probably another barbecue." The Carsons, our overly friendly neighbors who always seem to have people coming and going at all hours. Something about their perfect smiles and perfectly manicured lawn always rubbed me the wrong way. I watch Olivia as she reads the card, her expression carefully neutral. "Are you going?" I ask. She hesitates for just a moment too long. "Might stop by," she says, folding the card and slipping it into her pocket. "Nothing big. You don't have to come." I study her, a faint unease prickling at the back of my mind. Why wouldn't I go? "You hate these things," she says, laughing. "Small talk neighbors. You'd be miserable." She's not wrong. I've always preferred working late in my studio to socializing, but this feels off. "Maybe I'll come," I say, watching her reaction. She laughs again, but it sounds forced. "Suit yourself." That night, after Olivia falls asleep, I slip into the living room and retrieve the card from her purse. It's black with gold lettering, the kind of thing you'd expect for a high society gala, not a neighborhood gathering. The words make my stomach twist. An exclusive evening of connection and indulgence. Dress to impress. Discretion required. There's no mention of a barbecue, and certainly no indication this is a simple social gathering. The address at the bottom is the Carsons, and the date is tomorrow night. I put the card back exactly where I found it, my mind racing. Connection and indulgence? Discretion required? What the hell kind of party is this? As I lie in bed beside Olivia, her even breaths filling the silence, the unease grows into something sharper, something closer to dread. The following evening, Olivia gets ready with an excitement I haven't seen in a while. She's humming softly as she picks out a dress, a sleek black number that hugs her figure perfectly. It's a bit much for a neighborhood barbecue, but I don't say anything. Instead, I sit in the armchair by the window, pretending to scroll through my phone while my mind churns. When she finally leaves, her heels clicking sharply on the pavement, I watch from behind the curtain as she drives off. A cold knot of anxiety settles in my gut. Whatever this gathering is, it's not what she told me. Once her taillights disappear down the street, I spring into action. In the bedroom, I dig out an old hoodie and jeans. Nothing fancy, just enough to blend in. Then I grab a baseball cap, pulling it low over my face. I don't want anyone to recognize me if this turns out to be something. The drive to the Carsons feels like it takes forever, my mind running through every possible scenario. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe it really is just a harmless get-together, and Olivia didn't want to admit she'd rather go alone. But then I remember the invitation's cryptic wording, and my grip tightens on the steering wheel. I park a block away and walk the rest of the distance. The Carsons' house is lit up like a mansion from a movie, soft golden light spilling from the windows and music pulsing faintly through the air. The street is lined with expensive cars, all glinting under the street lamps. Whatever's happening inside, it's not your typical block party. I approach cautiously, keeping to the shadows. Through a gap in the curtains, I catch a glimpse of the living room. Men in sharp suits, women in elegant dresses, everyone holding glasses of champagne. The air inside seems charged with energy, a strange mix of excitement and secrecy. Then I see her. Olivia stands near the bar, laughing at something the Carsons' host, Brad, says. Her hand rests lightly on his arm, and his smile is just a little too wide. A pang of jealousy and unease shoots through me, but I force myself to stay calm. I circle the house, looking for another way in. A side door leads into the kitchen, and I slip through unnoticed. The smell of expensive food and perfume hangs in the air. I keep my head down, blending in as best I can, and make my way toward the main room. What I see makes my blood run cold. The music shifts, growing softer as the lights dim. Conversations quiet, and people start pairing off. Couples exchange knowing looks before disappearing down hallways and through side doors. Some don't bother leaving the room at all, their hands wandering freely as if no one else exists. I watch in stunned silence as Olivia takes Brad's hand and lets him lead her upstairs. My wife, the woman I thought I knew, vanishing into a private room with another man. My stomach churns, anger and disbelief warring within me. Part of me wants to storm after her, to demand answers, but I know I can't. Not here, not now. I need to keep my composure if I want to find out just how deep this goes. I back away slowly, slipping out the same door I came in. The night air feels suffocating, and my thoughts race as I head back to my car. Whatever this is, it's bigger than I imagined. And Olivia, she's not who I thought she was. I sit behind the wheel, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles ache. My mind screams at me to go home, to confront her the moment she walks through the door. But something stops me. If I act now, she'll deny everything, twist the truth until I doubt my own sanity. No, I need proof. Proof that she can't talk her way out of. The next morning, Olivia acts as though nothing has changed. She hums in the kitchen while making coffee, her movements light and unbothered. I sit at the dining table, pretending to scroll through my phone, but every fiber of my being is tense. The images from last night play on a loop in my head, fueling the fire building in my chest. "Sleep well?" she asks, setting a mug in front of me with a sweet smile. The audacity of her question almost makes me laugh. "Yeah," I reply, forcing my voice to stay calm. "You?" She nods, sipping her coffee. "The party was fun. Nothing special. You didn't miss much." Nothing special. The lie is so blatant. It takes everything in me not to slam my mug down and demand the truth. Instead, I push the conversation further. "What kind of party was it?" "Oh, just a casual get-together," she says with a dismissive wave of her hand. "Some neighbors, a few new faces. You know how the Carsons are, always trying to bring people together." Her casual tone sets my teeth on edge. She doesn't even flinch under my gaze, as if she's had practice spinning this kind of lie. The anger bubbling inside me begins to boil over, but I reel it in. Losing my temper won't get me the answers I need. "Sounds nice," I say evenly. "Maybe I'll join you next time." She hesitates, just for a fraction of a second, but it's enough to confirm my suspicions. "Sure," she says, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "If you're up for it." I clench my jaw, the urge to confront her barely held at bay. "What about Brad?" He seemed to be hosting. Her hand freezes mid-stir. For the first time, a crack appears in her composure. "Oh yeah, Brad and Emily were great hosts." I stare at her, waiting for more, but she quickly changes the subject, asking about my day. It's a masterful deflection, but I'm not letting this go. That evening, after Olivia leaves for her weekly yoga class, I grab her phone from the counter. It's locked, but I've seen her enter the code enough times to know it by heart. My hands shake as I unlock it, unsure of what I'll find but certain I need to know. It doesn't take long. Her message app is filled with texts from Brad, each one more damning than the last. "Can't wait for our next rendezvous. You looked incredible last night." The bile rises in my throat as I scroll further, finding explicit exchanges and even photos. But it's not just Brad. There are others, names I barely recognize, all with similar messages. This isn't a one-time betrayal. It's a pattern, a lifestyle, and she's been hiding it from me for who knows how long. The weight of her deception crashes over me, threatening to crush me. I sit there, staring at the screen, my heart pounding in my chest. How could she do this? How could she look me in the eye every day and pretend everything was fine? When Olivia comes home later, I can't even bring myself to look at her. She leans in for a kiss, and I turn away, mumbling something about being tired. If she notices the distance, she doesn't let it show. She just heads upstairs, humming to herself like nothing's wrong. But everything is wrong. And I know now that I can't let this go. I need to dig deeper, to understand the full scope of her betrayal. And when the time comes, I'll make sure she regrets every single lie she's told. The next few days pass in a haze of routine and secrecy. Olivia goes about her day as though nothing's changed, blissfully unaware that I've begun dismantling the web of lies she's built around us. I tread carefully, pretending to be the same doting husband while gathering every scrap of evidence I can find. Her phone provides a treasure trove of clues. Hidden group chats, suggestive messages, and recurring names. Brad is the ringleader, but he's not acting alone. Olivia's involvement runs deeper than I ever could have imagined. There's an entire network, a group of seemingly respectable people from our neighborhood, all connected through this secret lifestyle. One night, after Olivia falls asleep, I open my laptop and start digging. Social media profiles, tagged photos, cryptic comments, they all point to the same conclusion. The swinger society isn't just a casual hobby for a few couples. It's an organized community with its own rules, events, and unspoken code of silence. I recognize more names than I'd like to admit. The Thompsons from down the street. The Willises, who always host the best 4th of July parties. Even our mild-mannered dentist, Dr. Harris. The realization hits me like a punch to the gut. The people I've shared beers with at barbecues, waved to on my morning jogs, they've all been in on this, laughing behind my back while Olivia played me for a fool. The betrayal feels overwhelming, but it also steals my resolve. This isn't just about Olivia anymore. It's about exposing the hypocrisy of an entire community that's thrived on lies and deceit. I need more proof, though. Messages and screenshots won't be enough to bring them down. I need something undeniable, something that will shatter their carefully constructed facade. The idea comes to me late one night, as I sit in my studio staring blankly at my drafting table. My architectural background has always been my strength, my ability to plan, design, and execute with precision. Now, I'll use those skills to dismantle the very foundation of Olivia's secret world. I start by planting recording devices in the house. A tiny microphone in the living room, another in the kitchen, and a hidden camera in the bedroom. It feels invasive, but I push the guilt aside. She forfeited her privacy the moment she chose betrayal. Next, I stage a business trip. I pack my bags and kiss Olivia goodbye, pretending to be the same oblivious husband she's used to. "Call me if you need anything," I say, forcing a smile. She hugs me, her touch feeling foreign and cold, and promises to behave while I'm gone. The moment I leave the house, I park a few blocks away and access the cameras from my phone. It doesn't take long for her true colors to show. Within hours, she's on the phone with Brad, arranging another gathering. Her tone is light, almost giddy, and it makes my stomach churn. That evening, as I watch the footage in real time, Olivia hosts a small pre-party in our living room. Brad arrives first, followed by 2 other couples I vaguely recognize. Their conversations are casual at first, work, kids, neighborhood gossip, but the undertone shifts quickly. Glasses are refilled, laughter grows louder, and boundaries blur. By the time they leave for the main event, I have more than enough evidence to prove Olivia's betrayal. But I'm not done yet. I follow the GPS tracker I planted in her car to their destination, a secluded property on the edge of town. The driveway is packed with cars, and I can hear music and laughter spilling out from the house. My instincts scream at me to storm in, to confront them all, but I hold back. This isn't the time. I sit in my car, the camera on my phone rolling as I record the scene. The final piece of the puzzle is falling into place, and soon, their entire charade will come crashing down. The next morning, I wake up early, the tension from last night still simmering beneath my skin. I review the footage from the hidden cameras and GPS tracker, piecing together every damning detail. Olivia's betrayal is no longer just a suspicion. It's a fully documented reality. But I know I need more. What I've captured so far would destroy her in our circle of friends, but it might not hold up in court. If I'm going to walk away from this marriage on my terms, I need irrefutable proof. That's when I decide to take things a step further. I call in a favor from an old friend, Chris, who runs a private investigation firm. We met years ago when I designed his office building, and he's never forgotten the favor. When I explain the situation, he doesn't hesitate. "You're not alone, Ethan," Chris says. "More people than you think go through this kind of thing. But if you're ready to play hardball, I'll help you get what you need." We start with Olivia's patterns. Using the GPS tracker, I map out her movements over the next week. It's a perfect routine. Morning yoga, work, lunch with friends, or so she claims. In reality, her lunches are often extended rendezvous with Brad or other members of their little network. Each interaction is cataloged, time-stamped, and recorded by Chris's team. On Thursday evening, Olivia drops a bombshell. "I'm going out with the girls tomorrow night," she says casually over dinner, her tone light and carefree. "It's been a while since we've had a chance to catch up." My stomach tightens, but I manage to keep my expression neutral. "Sounds fun," I reply, forcing a smile. "Where are you meeting?" She hesitates, just for a fraction of a second. "Just a new wine bar downtown." "You wouldn't like it, too fancy." I nod, pretending to accept her excuse. Inside, I'm seething. The GPS tracker confirms she won't be at a wine bar. She's heading straight to another private party at the Carsons. This time, I decide to get closer. The following evening, I position myself in a nearby park, my car hidden behind a row of trees. Chris has given me access to a high-powered directional microphone, allowing me to eavesdrop from a safe distance. As Olivia's car pulls into the Carsons' driveway, I watch through binoculars, my heart pounding. Inside, the microphone picks up snippets of conversation. Laughter, music, clinking glasses. But then, voices grow quieter, more conspiratorial. "Everything's set for next week," Brad's voice says, low and confident. "No one suspects a thing." "Perfect," Olivia replies, her tone flirty. "And Ethan? He's clueless. He thinks I'm out with the girls tonight." Their laughter cuts through me like a knife. The evening unfolds with painful clarity. The conversations grow more intimate, more suggestive. I hear names, dates, even whispers of upcoming events involving new members of their network. It's a twisted game, and Olivia is one of the star players. By the time the party winds down, I have hours of audio recordings and enough evidence to shatter not just Olivia's facade, but the entire web of deceit surrounding her. As I sit in my car, staring at the glowing screen of my phone, I feel a strange mix of triumph and despair. I've done what I set out to do, but the cost feels heavier than I expected. I drive home that night knowing the game is about to change. Olivia may think she's in control, but I'm done playing by her rules. The next morning, I sit across from a sharp-dressed man in a sleek office overlooking the city. His name is Michael Grayson, a divorce attorney with a reputation for taking no prisoners. The moment I walk in, he studies me with a knowing look, as if he's seen my story 100 times before. "So," he says, steepling his fingers, "tell me everything." I lay it all out, the lies, the parties, the network of deceit Olivia is part of. I show him the messages, the footage, and the audio recordings. As he reviews the evidence, his face remains impassive, but when he looks up, there's a glint of approval in his eyes. "You've done your homework," Michael says, leaning back in his chair. "This is more than most clients walk in with. But I won't lie to you, Ethan. Infidelity doesn't carry as much weight in divorce court as people think, especially not in this state." My stomach sinks. "You're telling me she can cheat on me, lie to me, and still walk away with half of everything?" Michael nods grimly. "That's the reality of no-fault divorce. Unless you can prove that her behavior directly harmed your finances or your ability to parent. If you have kids, it won't matter." I clench my fists, frustration bubbling to the surface. "So what am I supposed to do? Just let her get away with it?" He raises a hand, calming me. "Not necessarily. There are ways to tip the scales in your favor, but it'll take strategy and some risks." I lean forward, desperate for answers. "What kind of risks?" Michael taps a pen against his desk, considering his words carefully. "First, we focus on leverage. The evidence you've gathered isn't just valuable for the divorce, it's social dynamite. If this network is as interconnected as you say, exposing it could create a ripple effect that works in your favor. No one likes their dirty laundry aired in public, especially people with reputations to protect. His words hit me like a revelation. Olivia and her friends have built their lives on the illusion of respectability. The thought of tearing that facade apart sends a dark thrill through me, but I hesitate. That kind of exposure, it could hurt a lot of people, I say. Michael shrugs. That's true. But you need to ask yourself, what's more important, protecting their secrets or protecting your future? If you want to walk away from this with your dignity intact and your finances secure, you'll need to play hardball. I stare at the stack of evidence on his desk, my mind racing. For so long, I've been the nice guy, the one who avoids conflict and gives people the benefit of the doubt. But Olivia's betrayal has left me with nothing to lose. If she's willing to burn down our marriage for her own selfish desires, why should I hold back? What's the next step? I ask, my voice steady. Michael smiles, the kind of smile that says he's ready for a fight. We start with a formal notice of divorce. That will catch her off guard and put her on the defensive. While she's scrambling, we'll use the evidence to negotiate favorable terms. If she resists, well, let's just say the prospect of public humiliation is a powerful motivator. The thought of Olivia squirming under the weight of her own lies sends a cold satisfaction through me. For the first time in weeks, I feel like I'm regaining control. As I leave Michael's office, a new resolve takes hold. This isn't just about revenge anymore. It's about reclaiming my life, my dignity, and my future. Olivia has made her choices, and now she'll face the consequences. The drive home from Michael's office feels surreal. My mind churns with a mixture of anxiety and determination. If Olivia thought I'd be her silent, passive husband, she's in for the shock of her life. I've spent years designing blueprints and solving complex problems. Now, I'm going to apply those skills to dismantling her web of deceit. That night, I sit at my drafting table, the tools of my trade spread before me. Instead of sketching the outline of a building, I begin planning a strategy to expose Olivia and her secret world. My goal isn't just to confront her. It's to collapse the entire network that enabled her betrayal. First, I create a timeline. Every date, every party, every interaction she's had with Brad and the others goes on the board. The data from the GPS tracker and audio recordings provide a clear pattern. It's not just sporadic infidelity. It's a lifestyle, carefully orchestrated to avoid detection. Next, I list the key players: Brad, the charismatic leader; the Carsons, who host the largest gatherings; the Thompsons and Willises, who act as recruiters, bringing new couples into the fold. Each name is connected by strings of evidence, texts, photos, and audio snippets. I don't just want to expose Olivia. I want to dismantle the entire operation. The piece de resistance is my plan for the upcoming party. Olivia doesn't know it yet, but I've been invited. Well, technically my hidden camera will be. Chris helps me outfit a pair of glasses with a discrete camera, capable of recording high-definition video without drawing attention. I'll capture everything: the conversations, the interactions, the betrayals. But that's not all. I prepare an envelope filled with evidence, screenshots, transcripts, and photos, and draft an anonymous letter. The letter is straightforward. This is what your spouse is doing behind your back. Decide for yourself what comes next. I plan to distribute these envelopes to the unsuspecting spouses of the swinger group after the party. They deserve to know the truth, just like I did. The plan takes days to finalize, each detail carefully considered. I rehearse my approach, anticipate obstacles, and make contingencies for every possible scenario. By the time the weekend arrives, I'm ready. That Saturday, Olivia tells me she's heading to a wine tasting with her friends. I nod, acting as though I believe her, but the sight of her leaving in a slinky black dress sends a fresh wave of anger through me. She doesn't even try to hide her lies anymore. As soon as she's gone, I grab my gear and head out. Chris is parked a block away, ready to assist if needed. We exchange a brief nod before I step into the shadows, my glasses recording everything. The party is being held at the Carson's sprawling estate. From the outside, it looks like any other upscale gathering. Luxury cars lining the driveway, the warm glow of lights spilling from the windows. But inside, it's a different story. I slip through the side entrance, mingling with the crowd while keeping a low profile. The scene is surreal. Couples laughing, drinking, and whispering in corners. The atmosphere charged with anticipation. I spot Olivia almost immediately. She's standing with Brad, her body language relaxed and familiar. The sight makes my stomach churn, but I force myself to stay calm. As the night progresses, I collect everything I need. Conversations flow freely, revealing the group's intricate dynamics. Olivia's name comes up more than once, often accompanied by knowing smiles and laughter. The camera captures it all. By the time I leave, I have enough footage to obliterate their secrets. But the night isn't over yet. Back in my car, I prepare the envelopes, each one addressed to a specific spouse. Chris and I deliver them one by one, slipping them into mailboxes under the cover of darkness. As I drive home, a strange calm washes over me. For the first time in weeks, I feel like I'm the one in control. Tomorrow, their perfect little world will come crashing down, and Olivia will realize just how far I'm willing to go. Sunday morning arrives with an eerie stillness, the kind that precedes a storm. I sit at the kitchen table, sipping my coffee and scrolling through my phone, feigning normalcy. Olivia breezes in, her hair tousled and her dress from last night replaced with sweatpants and a loose sweater. "Morning," she says casually, pouring herself a cup of coffee. "You were out late last night," she adds, a slight edge of curiosity in her voice. I shrug, keeping my expression neutral. "Had to finish some work. Deadlines, you know." She nods, either satisfied or too distracted to press further. Her phone buzzes on the counter, and she picks it up, glancing at the screen. For a fleeting moment, her face pales. She quickly sets the phone down, her movements too deliberate to be casual. "Everything okay?" I ask, forcing a tone of mild concern. "Yeah," she replies, her voice tight. "Just some work stuff." The lie is almost laughable, but I let it slide. I know exactly why she's rattled. Because the envelopes I delivered last night have started to detonate like bombs across the neighborhood. Later that afternoon, I park a block away from the Carsons' house, my heart pounding with anticipation. It's not long before the first ripple of chaos reaches my ears. Raised voices echo from a nearby yard, followed by the unmistakable sound of a slamming door. One by one, I see couples emerging from their houses, their faces tight with anger or shock. The carefully maintained facade of our suburban paradise is crumbling. As I approach the Carsons, I can already hear the commotion. Brad is on the front porch, arguing heatedly with his wife, Emily. She's clutching one of the envelopes, her face a mixture of fury and devastation. "You think I didn't notice?" Emily shouts. "The late nights, the secret messages. Did you think I was that stupid?" "Emily, it's not what you think." Brad pleads, his usual confidence nowhere to be seen. I slip past them unnoticed, entering the house through a side door. Inside, the tension is palpable. Several members of the swinger network have gathered, their conversations hushed and frantic. Olivia is among them, her expression one of barely concealed panic. "We need to find out who did this," Brad says, his voice tight with anger. "Someone's trying to destroy us." "Do you think it's someone from the group?" Olivia asks, her tone nervous. "No," Brad replies. "It has to be an outsider, someone with an axe to grind." Their paranoia is almost satisfying to watch, but I'm not here to gloat. I'm here to finish what I started. I move through the house, my camera still recording. The group's conversations reveal the cracks forming in their once solid network. Accusations fly, alliances shift, and the veneer of unity they've built begins to crumble. Brad tries to maintain control, but his usual charm falls flat in the face of mounting distrust. Olivia, meanwhile, looks increasingly uncomfortable. Her eyes dart around the room, as if searching for an escape route. For a moment, our eyes meet across the room. Her face registers surprise, then something that almost looks like fear. I give her a small, knowing smile before turning and walking out. Back in my car, I review the footage I've captured. It's everything I hoped for and more. Proof not only of their activities, but of their unraveling in the face of exposure. The final blow will come when I release the footage to a wider audience. ensuring that their secrets can never be hidden again. As I drive home, my phone buzzes with a text from Chris, Phase 1 complete. Let me know when you're ready for Phase 2. I smile grimly, gripping the steering wheel tighter. The party may be over, but the fallout is just beginning. The next morning, the storm hits full force. My phone buzzes incessantly with messages and calls from Chris, confirming that the fallout from the envelopes has spread like wildfire. Suburban paradise is no more, replaced by a tangled mess of suspicion, betrayal, and raw emotions. But my plan isn't complete yet. The most devastating move is still to come. I sit at my laptop, staring at the carefully organized folder of evidence. Audio recordings, video footage, screenshots of incriminating messages. Each file is labeled and time-stamped, a catalog of Olivia's betrayal and the larger web of deceit she's part of. It's almost too much to take in. So many lies, so much manipulation. But this time, I'm not overwhelmed. I'm focused. I open an anonymous account on a secure file-sharing platform. Using Chris's advice, I encrypt the files, ensuring they can't be traced back to me. The headline is simple but devastating. The suburban secrets they don't want you to know. The upload takes minutes, but it feels like hours. Each file is a piece of the puzzle, a brick in the wall of truth I'm building. By the time it's finished, I feel a strange sense of calm. The hardest part is over, but I don't stop there. I create a series of timed emails using an anonymous service, each one containing a link to the uploaded files. The recipients? Key figures in our community, local officials, influential families, and even the press. I don't target everyone, just enough to ensure the story can't be buried. Once the emails are sent, there's no turning back. By lunchtime, the neighborhood is in chaos. Social media lights up with cryptic posts and vague accusations. Someone has leaked the secrets of the swinger society, and it's spreading like wildfire. People demand answers, speculating about who could be behind it. The group members are in full damage control mode, scrambling to contain the fallout. I sit back and watch it all unfold, a quiet satisfaction settling over me. The secrecy they relied on, the lies they told, it's all unraveling, and they have no one to blame but themselves. Then my phone buzzes. It's Olivia. I hesitate, my thumb hovering over the screen. Part of me wants to ignore her, to let her stew in the chaos she created. But another part of me, maybe the part that craves closure, decides to answer. Ethan, she says, her voice shaking. What's happening? Do you know anything about this? I almost laugh at the audacity of her question. About what, Olivia? This leak, she stammers. Someone's spreading lies about us, about me. It's not true, Ethan. You have to believe me. Her desperation is almost pitiful, but I don't let it sway me. Lies. I say, my voice cold. I think you mean the truth, Olivia. And it's all there for everyone to see. There's a long pause on the other end of the line. When she speaks again, her tone is panicked. Ethan, please. This is our life, our reputation. You can't just stand by and let this happen. I grip the phone tightly, anger flaring in my chest. You're worried about your reputation? After everything you've done? She starts to protest, but I cut her off. Save it, Olivia. I've seen the messages, the photos. I've heard the recordings. Don't waste my time pretending you're the victim. Her silence is deafening. For the first time, she has no defense, no clever lie to cover her tracks. This is just the beginning, I say, my voice steady. You wanted freedom, Olivia? Well, now you're free. Free to face the consequences of every choice you made. I hang up before she can respond. By evening, the story has gone viral. The files have been downloaded and shared countless times, spreading far beyond our neighborhood. News outlets are picking up the story, framing it as a scandal that exposes the hidden lives of suburban elites. The faces of the network members are plastered across the internet, their secrets laid bare for the world to see. And Olivia? She's at the center of it all. By the time the sun sets, Olivia's carefully constructed world is in ruins. The digital bombshell I unleashed has reached every corner of our community and far beyond. People who once admired her, who thought of her as the charming and graceful wife of an ambitious architect, now see her as a symbol of betrayal and scandal. I hear it before I see it. Her car screeches into the driveway, the door slamming shut with such force it echoes down the street. I remain calm, sitting in the living room with a book open on my lap, pretending to read. The front door bursts open, and Olivia storms in, her face flushed with rage and panic. "You!" she spits, pointing a trembling finger at me. "You did this, didn't you?" I glance up from the book, keeping my expression neutral. "Did what?" "Don't play dumb, Ethan," she yells, her voice cracking. "Those files, the emails, this whole circus. It has your fingerprints all over it." I set the book down and stand, my movements slow and deliberate. "And what, exactly, am I being accused of, Olivia? Exposing the truth?" Her eyes narrow, and for a moment, she looks like she might explode. "You've ruined everything. My reputation, my career, my life. Do you have any idea what you've done?" Her words ignite the simmering anger in me, and I take a step closer. "Ruined everything? Olivia, you did that the moment you betrayed me. Don't you dare stand there and act like the victim." She falters, her bravado crumbling under the weight of my words. "I made a mistake," she stammers, her voice softer now. "But this is cruel, Ethan. You didn't have to go this far." I shake my head, my tone cold. "You don't get to call this cruel, Olivia. What's cruel is lying to someone who trusted you. What's cruel is tearing apart our marriage for the thrill of a secret life. I didn't ruin you. You did that all on your own." She stares at me, tears brimming in her eyes, but I don't let them sway me. This isn't a time for forgiveness or second chances. This is the moment she faces the full weight of her actions. "I can't go back out there," she says, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Everyone's talking about me. My boss called. He said they're reviewing my position because of this scandal." I nod, my expression devoid of sympathy. "Sounds like a consequence of your choices." "Ethan," she pleads, her voice breaking. "I'm sorry. Please, we can fix this. I'll leave the group. I'll do whatever it takes." I take a deep breath, steadying myself. "Fix this?" I echo. "There's no fixing what you've done, Olivia. This isn't just about me or us. It's about the lies you've told, the people you've hurt. You destroyed everything we built, and now you want me to save you." Tears spill down her cheeks, and she collapses onto the couch, her head in her hands. For a moment, I feel a pang of the love I once had for her, the life we used to share. But it's fleeting, drowned out by the cold, hard truth of her betrayal. "This is over," I say firmly. "I've already started the divorce process. You can plead your case to your lawyer." Her head snaps up, her tear-streaked face filled with shock. "Divorce?" "Yes, Olivia, divorce. You wanted freedom? You've got it." I turn and walk out of the room, leaving her sobbing on the couch. For the first time in weeks, I feel a strange sense of peace. I've done what I needed to do, and now it's time to move forward. The next few days are a whirlwind of quiet but deliberate action. Olivia's pleas for forgiveness grow softer, more desperate, as she begins to grasp the finality of my decision. But my resolve doesn't waver. Each conversation ends the same way, a curt dismissal or silence. I've given her enough of my time, my trust, and my life. I spend my evenings packing. The house, once a place filled with shared laughter and plans for the future, feels like a hollow shell now. Every room echoes with memories that feel more like taunts than treasures. The bed we once shared, the framed photos on the walls, they all remind me of a life that no longer exists. By the end of the week, I finalized the sale of the house. It was easier than expected, given the frenzy surrounding the scandal. Olivia begged me to reconsider selling, clinging to the idea that the house could somehow anchor us, but I wouldn't budge. "It's not just the house I leave behind. I submit my resignation to the architecture firm I've worked at for years. It's a tough decision, but necessary. My reputation remains intact despite the chaos, but I can't stomach the thought of continuing in the same circles, pretending everything is fine. Instead, I cash out what savings I have, sell what I can't carry, and map out a new plan. A fresh start in every sense of the word." The morning I leave, Olivia is nowhere to be seen. I assume she's at the Carsons, trying to salvage what's left of her social circle. The irony isn't lost on me. Her downfall has been the talk of the town, but she can't seem to let go of the very people who dragged her into this mess. I load the last of my belongings into my car, a few suitcases, a box of personal items, and my laptop. It's not much, but it feels like freedom. As I slide into the driver's seat, I take a moment to breathe, to let the weight of the past weeks settle in. The open road stretches before me like a promise. I don't have a specific destination in mind, just a vague plan to drive until I find a place that feels right, somewhere far from the memories of betrayal and heartbreak. By evening, I find myself in a small mountain town nestled in the foothills of the Rockies. The air is crisp, carrying the scent of pine and wildflowers. The streets are quiet, lined with charming shops and cozy diners. It's the kind of place that feels untouched by the chaos of the outside world. I check into a modest motel on the edge of town, my mind buzzing with possibilities. For the first time in weeks, the future doesn't feel like a dark, uncertain void. It feels open, waiting for me to shape it. That night, I sit on the motel's balcony, staring out at the stars. My thoughts drift to Olivia, to the life I've left behind. There's a sadness there, a lingering ache that's hard to ignore. But beneath it is a growing sense of hope, a quiet determination to rebuild. The next morning, I wake early and head into town, drawn to a small diner that looks like it hasn't changed in decades. Inside, the smell of coffee and fresh-baked muffins fills the air, and the sound of laughter and conversation creates a warm, welcoming atmosphere. That's when I see her. She's sitting at the counter, a notebook open in front of her and a mug of coffee in her hand. She has an easy smile, her dark hair pulled into a loose braid. There's something about her, a lightness, a calm, that draws me in. I take a seat a few stools away, and before I know it, we're talking. Her name is Rachel, a travel writer passing through on her way to a national park. Her voice is warm, her laugh infectious, and for the first time in what feels like forever, I feel at ease. Rachel's presence is like a balm for my frayed nerves. Her laugh is easy, her curiosity infectious. As we talk, I find myself sharing more than I intended, bits and pieces of my life, carefully omitting the recent chaos. She doesn't pry, but her questions are thoughtful, her interest genuine. "What brings you to this little town?" she asks, resting her chin on her hand. I hesitate for a moment, then shrug. "Looking for something different, I guess. A change of pace." She nods, as if she understands completely. "That's why I'm here too." The mountains have a way of putting things in perspective. Her words strike a chord. Perspective. It's something I've been searching for but haven't quite found. Until now. Over the next few days, Rachel and I fall into an easy rhythm. We meet for breakfast at the diner, swapping stories about the places we've been and the lives we've lived. She tells me about her travels, exploring hidden trails, writing about forgotten towns. Her passion is contagious, and it stirs something in me that I thought I'd lost. Inspiration. She doesn't push me to share more than I'm ready to, but her presence alone makes it easier to process everything I've been through. With each passing day, the weight of Olivia's betrayal feels a little lighter, the wounds a little less raw. One evening, as we sit by the river just outside town, Rachel turns to me with a question that catches me off guard. "Do you ever think about what's next?" she asks, her voice soft but curious. I stare out at the water, the moonlight reflecting off its surface. "I've been thinking about that a lot lately," I admit. For a long time, I thought I had it all figured out, a career, a marriage, a life. But now, I'm not so sure. Rachel smiles gently. Sometimes not knowing is the best place to start. It leaves room for possibilities. Her words linger with me long after she leaves. Possibilities. The idea feels foreign, almost daunting. But as I lie awake in my motel room that night, I realize she's right. The life I've left behind is gone, but that doesn't mean I can't build something new. The next morning, I wake with a sense of purpose I haven't felt in weeks. I head into town and find a local hardware store, picking up supplies to sketch out a new project. The idea comes to me as I drive back to the motel. Eco-friendly homes, designed to blend seamlessly with the natural landscape. Homes that are functional, beautiful, and sustainable. The thought excites me in a way I didn't expect. For years, my work has been about meeting deadlines and pleasing clients. But this feels personal, meaningful. I set up a makeshift studio in the motel room, spreading blueprints and sketches across the desk. Hours pass in a blur as I lose myself in the details, angles, materials, energy-efficient designs. By the time I step back and survey my work, a small smile creeps onto my face. It's been a long time since I felt this alive. That evening, Rachel and I meet at the diner again. She notices the smudges of ink on my hands and raises an eyebrow. "Busy day?" she asks, her lips quirking into a smile. "You could say that," I reply, grinning. "I think I found my next project." Her eyes light up with genuine interest. "Tell me about it." As I describe the eco-friendly homes, her enthusiasm matches my own. She asks questions, offers ideas, and even suggests a few places I could visit for inspiration. It feels good to share this with someone who sees the potential, who believes in the possibilities. For the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm moving forward, not running from the past, but walking towards something new. The days in the mountain town blur into a mix of creative energy and quiet reflection. Rachel and I grow closer, her presence a grounding force in my chaotic journey. But even as I immerse myself in building something new, a lingering thread of the past remains. Olivia. I'm not naive enough to believe she'll let me go quietly. Her attempts to reach out have slowed but not stopped. Each ignored call and unread message feels like a small victory, but I know it's only a matter of time before she escalates. That moment arrives one crisp afternoon. I'm sitting on the diner's patio, sketching plans for a new project, when a shadow falls over my table. I glance up, expecting Rachel, but instead, I'm met with Olivia's familiar face. Her makeup is flawless, her hair perfectly styled, but the stress etched into her features betrays the facade. "Ethan," she says softly, almost hesitantly, "we need to talk." My stomach tightens, but I keep my expression neutral. "There's nothing left to talk about, Olivia." She pulls out the chair across from me and sits down without asking, her hands folded tightly on the table. "Please, just hear me out." I set down my pencil and lean back, crossing my arms. "You've got 5 minutes." Her eyes well up with tears, and for a moment, I wonder if they're genuine. "I've been thinking a lot about everything about us. I know I made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but I still love you, Ethan. We can fix this. We can go to counseling, start over. Please don't throw away everything we had." Her words should sting, but instead, they ring hollow. I've heard this before, the same desperate pleas, the same hollow promises, and I've finally learned better. I take a deep breath, keeping my voice steady. "Olivia, the only person who threw away what we had was you. I didn't destroy our marriage, you did. I trusted you, and you betrayed me in every way imaginable. There's no coming back from that." She flinches as if I've struck her, her tears spilling over. "But I've changed," she insists. "I've cut ties with Brad, with the others. I'm trying to make things right." I shake my head. "It's too late for that. What you did wasn't a mistake, Olivia. It was a choice. And you made that choice over and over again." Her composure cracks, and she reaches across the table, her voice breaking. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but please, Ethan, I can't do this without you." Before I can respond, Rachel appears at the edge of the patio. She hesitates for a moment, clearly sensing the tension, but her gaze locks onto mine, steady and supportive. "Is everything okay?" she asks, her tone calm but firm. Olivia stiffens, her tear-streaked face turning toward Rachel. "And who is this?" she snaps, her voice dripping with disdain. I stand, stepping between them. "This is Rachel," I say simply. "She's none of your concern." Olivia's eyes flash with anger. "So that's it? You've replaced me already?" I stare at her, my patience finally wearing thin. "This isn't about replacing you, Olivia. It's about moving forward. Something you should try." Her mouth opens, but no words come out. For the first time, she looks truly lost, as if the weight of her actions has finally caught up with her. "I've made my decision," I say firmly, "and it doesn't include you. Goodbye, Olivia." Rachel places a comforting hand on my arm as Olivia stands, her shoulders slumped. She turns and walks away, her footsteps heavy against the pavement. I watch her go, feeling a mix of relief and closure. Later, Rachel and I sit by the river, the tension from earlier melting away in the cool evening air. She doesn't push for details, but her presence is enough to remind me why I'm here, why I've chosen this new path. "You did the right thing," she says quietly, her gaze fixed on the water. "I know," I reply, my voice steady. And for the first time, I feel free. The encounter with Olivia lingers in my mind, not as a wound, but as a necessary step toward closure. I've said what needed to be said, made my stance clear. For the first time since everything fell apart, I feel a sense of finality. There's no more wondering, no more second-guessing. The chapter is closed. A week later, I receive a text from her. "Can we meet one last time? Just to talk?" I stare at the screen, debating whether to respond. Part of me wants to ignore it, to let silence speak for itself. But another part, one that craves a clean break, decides it's worth hearing her out. If this is truly the last time, I can handle it. We meet at a small park on the edge of town, neutral territory. The autumn leaves scatter across the ground, the crisp air carrying a faint scent of pine. Olivia arrives looking subdued, a stark contrast to the polished image she usually projects. She's dressed simply, her makeup minimal, her demeanor almost humble. "Thank you for coming," she says softly, taking a seat on the bench beside me. I nod but say nothing, waiting for her to continue. "I know I don't deserve this," she begins, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "But I wanted to tell you, I'm sorry. Not just for what I did, but for everything. How I treated you, how I took you for granted." Her voice trembles, and for the first time, she looks truly vulnerable. "I was selfish, Ethan. I didn't think about how my actions would affect you, or anyone else. I thought I could have it all without consequences." Her words hang in the air, and I let them. Part of me wants to believe her, to take comfort in her remorse. But another part knows better. Words are easy. Change is hard. "I appreciate the apology," I say finally, my tone measured. "But it doesn't change anything. What's done is done." She nods, tears brimming in her eyes. "I know. I needed to say it. To let you know that I regret everything." For a moment, we sit in silence, the weight of unspoken words settling between us. Finally, I stand, signaling that the conversation is over. "I hope you find what you're looking for, Olivia," I say, my voice steady. "But it's not with me." She looks up at me, her expression a mixture of sadness and acceptance. "Goodbye, Ethan." I nod and walk away, the finality of her words echoing in my mind. As I leave the park, a strange sense of peace washes over me. It's done. The ties that once bound us are severed. I'm free. That evening, I sit with Rachel by the fire pit outside her cabin. She hands me a mug of hot cocoa, her eyes warm and full of understanding. "How did it go?" she asks gently. "It's over," I reply, exhaling deeply. "For real this time." Rachel smiles, her hand brushing against mine. "That's good. You deserve to move forward." Her words resonate with me, and for the first time in months, I feel the weight of the past truly lift. The future no longer feels like a blank slate. It feels like an open road, full of possibilities. The days turn into weeks, and the once barren landscape of my life begins to bloom with new purpose. The scars Olivia left behind don't disappear, but they fade into the background as I pour my energy into building something meaningful, both personally and professionally. My project on eco-friendly homes begins to take shape. Inspired by the rugged beauty of the mountains and the simplicity of the small town, I design structures that blend seamlessly with nature. Each blueprint feels like a step forward, a way to reclaim my passion and channel it into something that matters. Rachel becomes a key part of this journey. Her travel experience and deep appreciation for sustainable living spark ideas I never would have considered on my own. Over cups of coffee at the diner or long walks through the woods, we brainstorm and sketch, laughing at our wildest concepts while refining the ones with real potential. One afternoon, As we sit by the river with papers spread around us, Rachel glances at a sketch of a cozy, solar-powered cabin nestled into a hillside. "This one," she says, tapping the paper. "This feels like you." I study the drawing, a simple but elegant design that prioritizes functionality without sacrificing beauty. It's the kind of home I've always wanted to create but never had the chance to. A smile tugs at the corners of my lips. "You really think so?" I ask. Rachel nods, her eyes sparkling. "Absolutely. It's grounded, purposeful, authentic. Like you." Her words linger in the air, and I feel a warmth that has nothing to do with the afternoon sun. Rachel sees me, not as the man I used to be, defined by my mistakes and heartbreak, but as the person I'm becoming. The town begins to take notice of my work. Local residents stop me at the diner to ask about my designs, curious about the man who appeared seemingly out of nowhere with big ideas and quiet determination. Word spreads, and soon I'm fielding inquiries from small businesses and families interested in building sustainable homes or renovating existing ones. It's more than I ever anticipated, but instead of feeling overwhelmed, I feel energized. For the first time in years, my work feels personal, driven by a sense of purpose rather than obligation. As the project grows, so does my relationship with Rachel. What started as chance encounters at the diner has blossomed into something deeper, something real. She challenges me in ways that make me stronger, but she also offers a sense of peace I didn't realize I needed. One evening, as we sit by the fire pit outside her cabin, Rachel turns to me with a question that catches me off guard. "Where do you see this going?" she asks, her voice soft but steady. I take a moment to gather my thoughts, staring into the flickering flames. "I'm not sure," I admit, "but I know I don't want it to end." She smiles, her hand brushing against mine. "Me neither." It's a simple exchange, but it carries the weight of everything we've built together. The trust, the understanding, the quiet moments of connection that have come to define us. That night, as I lie awake in bed, I realize that for the first time in a long time, I'm not looking back. The pain, the betrayal, the regrets, they're still there, but they no longer hold me captive. My life isn't defined by what I've lost, but by what I'm building. And with Rachel by my side, the future feels brighter than ever. Months pass, each day bringing new opportunities and deeper connections. My work designing eco-friendly homes takes off, attracting attention from not just the locals, but people from neighboring towns. It's rewarding in a way I hadn't anticipated, watching my vision take shape and knowing it resonates with others. Rachel and I grow closer, our bond solidifying with each shared moment. She's my anchor, my partner in both life and work. Her optimism balances my pragmatism, and her adventurous spirit reminds me to appreciate the beauty in the unexpected. With her, I feel whole again, not patched together, but truly healed. One crisp autumn morning, I find myself standing on the edge of a wide meadow with Rachel. The mountains rise in the distance, their peaks dusted with the season's first snow. The cabin I designed, a modest, solar-powered retreat nestled into the hillside, stands completed before us. "It's perfect," Rachel says, her voice tinged with awe as she takes it in. "It's like it's always been part of the landscape." I smile, pride swelling in my chest. "It's for us," I say simply. She turns to me, her eyes widening. "Ethan, are you serious?" I nod, reaching into my pocket and pulling out a small, handcrafted wooden box. Inside is a simple but elegant ring, adorned with a small emerald that matches the green of the mountains surrounding us. "Rachel," I say, my voice steady but filled with emotion, "meeting you was the second chance I didn't know I needed. You've shown me what it means to live again, to dream again. I want to keep building this life with you, here, together. Will you marry me?" Tears glisten in her eyes, and she nods, laughing softly as she throws her arms around me. "Yes," she whispers. 1,000 times yes. The weeks that follow are filled with joy and quiet celebration. We don't rush to plan a grand wedding or make sweeping changes. Instead, we savor the life we're building, one day at a time. The cabin becomes our sanctuary, a place of warmth and peace where we can dream and create together. On the anniversary of our meeting, Rachel surprises me with a framed quote she's written in her elegant handwriting. It reads, "Sometimes, losing everything is the first step toward finding what truly matters." She smiles as she hands it to me, her eyes reflecting the wisdom of the words. "You've come so far, Ethan, and I couldn't be prouder of you." I take her hand, holding it tightly. It wasn't just me. It was us. As the seasons change, I find myself reflecting on the journey that brought me here. The betrayal I endured, the pain of letting go, the uncertainty of starting over. It all led to this moment. I've rebuilt my life not as it was, but as it was meant to be. Stronger, truer, full of purpose. And with Rachel by my side, I know the road ahead will be one of adventure and love. The past may have shaped me, but it doesn't define me. What defines me is the life I've chosen to build and the people who walk beside me on this journey. If you enjoyed this story of resilience, redemption, and finding strength after betrayal, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever faced a challenge that forced you to rebuild and find a new path? Share your experience below. I'd love to hear it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more compelling stories about life, love, and second chances. Your support helps us create more content that inspires and connects us all. Thanks for watching.